There was a day that Joeseph Quinn was away. I think he was shooting. He was away doing reshoots for A Quiet Place. So he had missed that one day of boot camp.
I think the intensity of the film was kind of an inescapable thing that I'm really sort of taken aback by. It's just from a sound design perspective, how kind of visceral it is, and I'm excited for people to experience that aspect of the film.
Sadly, growing up and being exposed to pop culture into quote unquote war movies, we see as depicted as often as it is that a lot of these guys in the front lines are older gentlemen, and this film does the complete opposite. I feel like it does show the youth aspect of older people sending children to war.
3 minutes out! 3 minutes!
Eyes on me and only me. Has anyone looked at you?
I'm fucked up. 2 minutes!
Where are you guys?
Look for the blood in the smoke!
Multiple bad guys trying to get to our position.
Inbound! Inbound! Find cover!
I'm sure you've both had experiences of working with directors who are telling stories that are very personal to them before, but this seems like it's taking that to an even higher level, and I guess especially for you playing Ray, what was that experience like? What were the kind of conversations and the first conversations with him like, I guess, when you signed up?
Well, yes. Well, our first conversation that we had, I was lucky enough to have a little breakfast or lunch with a brunch with our amazing directors, Alex and Ray. That was my first time meeting both of them. I really much just we talked less about the script and more just really about our upbringing, me and Ray's upbringing. We talked about, I came to the meeting 20 minutes early. They were already finished eating by then, so I was like, smart, came early, But really, that was really it. Our first conversation was just talking about our upbringing, talking about our own personal experiences, our own life experiences, and I think I didn't have to do an audition, so I think that was my my audition right there was who I was as a person. That's what I think he was more interested in casting rather than what their acting abilities are.
Did you have any particular experiences with Ray or with any of the other veterans that you spoke to that were especially helpful, I guess, early on in the process?
Yeah, I was really fortunate in that the gentleman that I represented made himself available to me on a number of occasions and in a number of really invaluable ways, so that I could kind of do my best to accurately depict what he went through that day and what we all kind of experienced. It was amazing to have the contributions of the people who really lived this event to sort of ensure a certain level of accuracy with the recreation of that kind of fateful afternoon. Not least because I think it's important that veterans feel accurately represented in the film, but also civilians get a realistic depiction of what a warfare environment looks like, as opposed to maybe something that resembles a few of the films in the sort of pre-existing catalogue, which maybe fall on the side of sort of glorification or romanticization of these really kind of traumatic and largely negative experiences.
I didn't meet Elliot until till we were pretty far into the production. I wasn't aware that he was going to show up, but he did show up, and when he did, most of anything to do with Elliot came from Ray, and then other colleagues of Ray's that came, and that Ray was able to tell me a huge amount about Elliot because they're very good friends. But not just Elliot in general as a character, but also more specifically Ray in the context of this event in Ramadi in 2006 and how they were together. So most of the information came from Ray, and before that I had some brief but very useful correspondence with Elliot's father. And
Well, it was obviously portraying, as you say, probably one of the most important and sort of formative moments of his life. He often says that was the day that he the kid in him died. He kind of said, like that was the day that he became a man. He often says so. I'm sure it was a very emotional thing for him, but he also was able to approach it with a real level of objectivity. You know, that was kind of the intention of the film, was to, get rid of any bias and any, just any kind of subjectivity. It was all just the pursuit of truth, and all through memory. You know, everything that happens in the film is memories of everyone who was there, and that's an incredibly hard rule to follow. But Alex and Ray both set themselves those rules and stuck by them, from beginning to end. So it was really incredibly insightful as actors to be able to work with Ray in particular, and all of the guys who were there who came to set, because they all were able to offer their own perspectives, especially with the benefit of hindsight. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
I'm really interested in the boot camp experience that you guys went through, because obviously, on the one hand, it's, I guess, giving you the technical expertise and technical knowledge that you needed. But I'm also interested in how it kind of forged a camaraderie between you as a cast. Were there particular moments in that training period, or even when it got to set, where you really kind of felt together as a group, as a cast?
Yeah, I mean, I remember. I think one moment that I remember really quite early on that felt like a real testament to, or not a testament to, but an indication of that we were in the right direction, and that the bond that we were forming and the team environment that we had built was really positive. Was there was a day that Joeseph Quinn was away. I think he was shooting. He was away doing reshoots for A Quiet Place. So he had missed that one day of boot camp, and it was a day where we were doing the kind of fundamentals of like patrolling and things like that. And he came back for dinner to the hotel, and we all essentially just caught him up on everything that we learnt that day, and we were kind of going through it all in this dining hall thing. And I remember thinking, oh, okay, this is a really like good sort of supportive, productive environment where we're all gonna, keep each other, lift each other up, keep each other together, keep each other on the same page, and just help each other. And I thought that was, still very early days, and already we were really acting as a team, which was awesome.
Was that quite a unique experience for you guys to be part of something like that?
Yeah, completely. I mean, I've never experienced anything like that. Not only, Alex and Ray also did this remarkable thing that I've never experienced, and it's just a testament to their faith in us and their trust in us, which was so incredible. We would have a section, 15, 20-minute section, and they would actually put, we had these blue walls where we would sort of recreate the set, and they would just put us in there and we would just talk, and they would trust us to basically rehearse it on our own. And it was a unbelievable experience to be able to sort of flesh things out, just us. Was it 8 of us, OP1, or? Yeah.
Just about.
Yeah. And, start trying to put this wealth of information that they'd be teaching us into these scenes. And it was incredibly, I think, helpful, where we would just be standing there kind of being like, I don't know what to do, and figure it out together. That was unbelievable that they let us do that.
Fascinating. It kind of felt like a GCSE drama lesson almost. Like it took me back to that, but I'm surrounded by these incredibly talented actors, and it just meant that we were again. It was like the teachers went and left us to kind of gave us these scenes, and we'd obviously done a lot more prep than you would have done in a regular GCSE drama piece. But there was this self-sufficient energy that they had created, because again they instilled Will, Charles, and Joe in kind of positions of leadership. So it meant that we were, as a cast, pretty self-sufficient, which was pretty awesome,
The boot camp wasn't it was to transmit occupation-specific skills and sort of mental principles, but it was also to nurture and transmit a sort of artistic discipline as well, and then to use the occupation-specific sort of militaristic principles and allow them to encourage us to utilize those in completing artistic objectives, which I'm surprised that school of thought hasn't been applied before, because it really was highly productive.
Some of the key moments I'd like to say, honestly, was one of our first days together. One of our first nights all together, we all buzzed each other's hair. That was a very big key moment in trusting each other, first and foremost. And throughout the whole process, I mean, they had us in the same hotel in a beautiful town called Tring. And when we ate together, we all woke up together, we all worked out together, sweated together, cried together, everything in between, honestly. I can't, at least maybe he could, but I can't give you certain moments, but I can tell you throughout the whole process, it was a constant bonding experience from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can only really second that. I think just the fact that we all lived with each other and we basically spent, every possible opportunity to get to know each other better. That all the guys were sort of willing and wanting to do that. On weekends, there was an opportunity to go back home, and more often than not, we stayed right where we were. And if we did go back on the weekends, we all hung out with each other in London. So
Yeah, right, exactly.
it was very cool to see that willingness to spend time with each other and want to be around each other was just kind of natural.
Yeah. I'm interested as well in what it's like to watch this film back, because I guess that must always be a surreal experience for an actor to watch your work. But I think in this one in particular, when it's so intense, and it must have been intense on one hand to make, but what's it been like watching back? Have you seen the film in full yet? And what were your responses to it?
Yeah, honestly, just quickly, I think I feel just as intense as a viewer watching it for the first time. I mean, as much as we shot it and we were there throughout the whole process, watching it again, every explosion, every gunshot, every scream, every cry, it feels new. And it feels, and I don't want to say fresh, but it feels new to me, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the intensity of the film is kind of an inescapable thing that I'm really sort of taken aback by. It's just from a sound design perspective, how kind of visceral it is, and I'm excited for people to experience that aspect of the film.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of how it's kind of impacted on your own views of war, I guess, because, you've talked about how, certain film depictions of it can perhaps have this romanticized element which is completely absent in this. Has it changed the way you guys think, in terms of what that experience like? Did you have particular ideas beforehand? What is kind of the biggest impact it's had on you?
I mean, quickly and personally, I can't speak for anybody else's opinions on, on war, but I personally just believe war is hell. War is terrible. It's very sad that other films may depict it as cool, sadly, if I may say, as cool, if they're doing that intentionally or not. But war is hell, and leaving this process and entering this project, I knew it, and leaving it, I knew it. So there's nothing different. No opinions changed on it. No.
Yeah, I'd say my feelings are largely the same. Despite the fact that, I think certain films and television programs had kind of textured my understanding maybe in a way where my sort of understanding of war was less accurate than it might be or ought to be. I was sort of under no illusion about what a negative environment, a warfare environment is. I think if anything, my feelings are just stronger. That I feel even more strongly about how negative the warfare environment is, and I think one thing this film does do, which it certainly did for me, is it made me think even more critically about the decision to even send people to war in the first place, and I think it will hopefully stimulate some important discussion, because with this film, regardless of what your socio-political stance is on war, at least you'll have the opportunity to sort of base your understanding or your opinion in something that is an accurate reflection of those environments, as opposed to something that, as you say, makes it look cool or desirable in any way.
I always like to add on one more thing to it as well, is that one thing I did take from this is that sadly growing up and being exposed to pop culture into quote unquote war movies, we see as depicted as often as it is that a lot of these guys in the front lines are older gentlemen, and this film does the complete opposite. I feel like it does show the youth aspect of older people sending children to war, and that's what exactly this this film opened my eyes up to. Of course, you think about it, but you never really realize until you watch it on screen, really, or you're there in person and you see your buddies right next to are 20 years old or 21 years old. So that's a big part too as well, how young our frontline soldiers are everywhere in the world, no matter what side are you on, how young these people are.